here. Yeah, good morning to all. Today we will start a different topic. In the last class, we completed the memory part. Okay. In today's class, we'll talk about pipelining. So it is something called instruction pipelining. Okay. So topic is pipelining. Book is amateur for today's class. Okay. So actually, speed of the execution of a program can be increased in different ways. Okay, you can put a very speedy circuit. Okay, and there also can be done, but one is the best thing is that multiple work would be done parallelly. Okay, so that multiple work means multiple operation can be performed simultaneously. So one example we have seen while making the say car, okay, in the factory, they use the assembly line pipelining. Okay, in assembly line pipelining concept is something maybe we have 3 units. Okay, so one unit, each unit takes 8 hours and they do the different work here. Okay, let's say one set of unit, they prepare the chassis of the car. Another unit, they prepare the body of the car. Another unit can be engine. Now, if you make a complete car, then it will take full one day. Okay, 24 hours. Now, what it can be done? So, this individual work can be done in a pipeline. So what advantage we can see? So after say one set of people will spend 8 hours to make a chassis, and then they will pass this chassis to the another set of people. They will make the body, and once body is completed for the car, then it will send for the installing the engine. Now what happened? See, let's say for let's say for 5 car, if you want to do one by one, okay, let's say 5 car, one car it is taking 24 hours, so 5 car it will be 5 into 24. Now in this pipeline fashion, if you do it, say first car while making the chassis, rest is no work. Now after 3 means after 24 hours, you will get one car, and after 8 hours you will get another car. After 8 hours, you will get another car. After 8 hours, you will get another car. After 8 hours, you will get another car. So total time you see, this is taking 24 plus 32. Okay. So here you say is how much it will be. So it will be 0, 120. Okay. 120 hour. But here it is taking, say, 56 hour. Okay. So this is something called assembly level, what is called is assembly lining operation. Same thing can be done, that multiple work can be done by different unit, and they can work parallelly. That can be done in computer system. So that is something called pipelining, and then we do this pipelining in instruction level. Okay, so that is something called instruction level pipelining. Okay, so that is something called the instruction level pipelining. So essentially, let's say we can think of that process, that instruction execute into 2 stages. One stage is called fetch, another is called the execution. As I said earlier, fetch means it is fetching the instruction and operand, and it is executing and writing back. So best way to achieve that instruction execution can be divided into, instead of 2, generally it is divided into 4 or 5 stage. For simplicity, we can talk about the 4 stage, but it can be extended for multiple stage also. Okay. So therefore, instruction execution involve basically 4 different steps that I will tell you here. So those 4 stages are here. A pipeline processor may have the instruction, may process the instruction in the 4 steps. So one is something called fetch. Okay. So this is, we can put if it fetch. So in the stage of fetch, it read the instruction from the memory. So maybe it fetch, what we can write it here, it read, but the word fetch is more important, is mostly used. Read the instruction from memory. Then it is D, that is something called decode. Okay. So decode the instruction. At this stage, it decodes the instruction, and if the instruction has any operands, so it again fetch those operands. So therefore, this is decode the instruction, and fetch the source operand. Fetch, decode, and then execute. So here is actually actual operation is performed. So perform the operation. Specified in the instruction. So let's say a equal to a plus pi. So that operation is what? Addition. So that addition is performed during execute fetch. Then there is something called write. So result need to be stored in a memory. So that is, result is stored back to the operand, to the destination. So store the results in the destination location. Okay. So therefore, instruction execution has 4 phases. One is fetch, then decode, then execute, and then write back. Okay. So it may have actually multiple phases, not only 4, it may have 5, 6, and so on. But for this example, so on, we will consider that instruction has 4 phases. Okay. Now thing is that, so for each phase, we should have the separate circuit. So for each phase, we should have a separate circuit. This is something called fetch unit. Then we should have something called decode unit. Then we should have execute unit, and then we should have write unit. Now what will happen while the first instruction or any instruction is decoding, other instruction is doing parallelly fetch. Similarly, other instructions say, therefore what happened? First instruction, if there is a continuous instruction, there is a continuous supply of the instruction to this system, then what will happen? First instruction will take 4 time units. So we are assuming that each phase will take only one clock cycle. So therefore, after 4 clock cycle, we'll get the one instruction, and then every 1 clock cycle will get the one note new instruction that has been executed. As you have seen for earlier example. Here also we'll see. Okay. So now what happened is in between fetch and decode, we keep a register set that is something called interstage buffer. So this is, so whatever the output from the fetch is stored in a buffer so that it can work parallelly. While decoding is working, it will take the input from the buffer. It will not disturb the, it will, so results, it will take output, input decoder will take from the this buffer. Similarly, in between there should be another buffer where output of the decoder will put here. So then execute, while decoder and execution unit both can work parallelly. Similarly here, we should have results after this one. So this is something called buffer. This is buffer. Now what happened? Let's say we have started execution clock cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So now let's say first instruction. So in a clock cycle, it will complete the fetch part. In second clock cycle, second instruction will start fetching. Okay. However, this part will go for decoding. For third instruction in the third clock cycle will start fetch. This will start for decoding. This will start for executing. So in the fourth clock cycle, this will be in fetch. This, that is the I3, will be in decoding stage. I2 instruction will be in execution stage. And this will be in the write back stage. And after fifth instruction, here fifth instruction will be in fetch. This instruction also will complete its execution. This instruction will start write back. This will be in execution mode. This is in decode mode. Okay. So everything is perfect. Okay. So if we assume that each unit is taking 1 clock cycle and then there is a continuous supply of the instruction to the fetch unit, then everything will go very smoothly. Okay, so that as you have seen after after fourth clock cycle, see after fourth clock cycle, in each and every clock cycle, one instruction will be executed. Okay. Now there are some problem here we face as we assume that each phase should execute within a one clock cycle. Okay, so but the scenario may not be so simple because maybe some phases may take more longer time than the other one. One example is a division may take 2 clock cycle than the other one. So therefore, that execution unit instead of 1 clock cycle, so it should consume 2 clock cycle. And what happened if it consume 1 clock cycle? Okay, and so more than 1 clock cycle, that is, let's say 2 clock cycle. So all other operation, whatever that comes after that instruction, all the other instructions, that all stage will be stopped and it will be suspended for until or unless it cleared the corresponding execution part. Okay, so therefore, for any reason, if that pipeline stop at the point, so that scenario is called the pipeline stalled. Okay, so now we'll talk about the pipeline stalling. Okay, so and for a variety of reason, one of the pipeline stage may not be able to compute its operation in a specified time period. Okay, so maybe we can write it here. One of the pipeline stage may not complete its operation in the specified time period. Okay, then pipeline operation is said to be stalled. Okay, so then pipeline operation is said to be stalled. Okay, and this stalling or blocking may happen due to different reasons. So if there is, so let's say, as I said, there is a fetch, then decode, then execute, and then write back. Now, before going for execution, that all data should be available. That is the source. Let's say you have multiplication. So let's say R1, R2, and stored in R3. So therefore, these are the source. So now what is the first stage? So you bring the instruction here. So that is fetch. After fetching the instruction, it has to be decoded. So after decoding, it realizes that it has the 2 operand and it is a multiplication operation, and these 2 operands are available in the memory. So therefore, those 2 operands also, let's say in a register content A, B should be stored into, let's say, add A, B and store in results R3. So therefore, A and B are also the operand and it is in the main memory. So like fetching, those also the value needs to be brought to the processor, right? So therefore, this is decoding part is not only the decoding what is that instruction, along with that, it should also bring that all source operand. Okay. Once it brings the all source operand, so that is the decoding part will complete. Okay. Then it will go for the execution. But what may happen that for decoding, because there are 2 operand, decoding and there are 2 memory operations. So one memory operation in the fetch, and for decoding it decodes, oh, there are 2 other operands, so that is available in the main memory. So it needs to bring those 2 operand into the processor. So therefore 2 memory operations. So it may take more time than the pre-specified time. Pre-specified time, so let's say 20 seconds, it is taking 40 seconds. So that time what happened? Anything below of this instruction which are there, which are supposed to be executed, will be stalled, and that pipeline operation will be stalled. Okay, so the dependency on the data, so that stalling is called the data hazard. So because for any reason, if the file line is stalled, it's called the hazard. And because it is stalling because of the data, so it is called the data hazard. Now we'll talk about the data hazard. Okay. So now we'll talk about okay. There are other thing also. It's called the instruction hazard. If the instruction is not there in the fetch, say let's say ideally we are assuming that while processor will go for fetching, that instruction will be available in the cache. But it may happen there is a cache miss. If the cache is not there, then what you have to do? It will go to the main memory and then it will come to the cache memory and it will be delivered. So for that is there is something called miss penalty we have talked earlier. So miss penalty time is more than the if there is a cache hit. So therefore, it may happen that required instruction is not available to be fetched. So therefore, fetch unit will take much longer time than pre-specified. So in that case, because of the instruction is not there, so this type of hazard, that is for that reason also the pipeline will be stalled, and that scenario is called the instruction hazard. So we'll focus more on the data hazard, and then later on we'll talk about the instruction hazard, and there are different variation of the instruction hazard. Okay, so because of the non-availability of the instruction, or because of the some of the operation is taking much longer time. Okay, so let's say execute division operation, it is taking much longer time. So those are something called the instruction hazard that will come later if time permits. But now today we only talk about the data hazard and how to solve the data hazard problem. Okay. So one example in the data hazard is here. Let's say we have two instructions. Okay. So these two instructions, something like that. So let's say A is 3 plus A and B is 4 into A. Now let's say value of A is 5. Then what will be the results of B? So A plus 5, 8, 8 plus O, so B will be 32. If these two instructions execute one by one. But if, because we know that there is a high chance that two instructions will be getting executed parallelly, because we have the fetch, decode and execute everything. That is the instruction pipelining. So we should able to execute two instructions parallelly. Okay. So now if you go for running the parallelly, these two instructions, this is instruction 1, another is instruction 2. Now what will you get the results? So from here you'll get the results is A equal to 8, and here you'll get the B equal to what? 30, if 20. So B value will be 20, but it should have been the B is 32. Okay. So now if there are two instructions here, where there is a dependency over the operand, what happened? That results, whatever it will be stored here, that is becoming on of the operand here. Okay. So in this scenario, that is something called data dependency. You must have studied this type of problem in DBMS classes. Okay. So there is a dependency. One operand, one output of the say one operand is the input of the other. So as you can see, A, and then so this is A. A is the input for this instruction. Okay. So A is the operand, and that operand is actually the destination operand for the other instruction. Okay. So in this scenario, this is something called data dependency. Now what will happen for in case of the data dependency? First we'll check out. Okay. Let's say we have two examples here. We can see, let's say we have two instruction multiplication, R2, R3, R4, and then add R5, R4, R6. As you can see, this is R4 is the final destination. These are the source. These are the source and this is destination. And this is this is becoming one of the source operand of the other instruction. So this is, let's say, instruction 1 and this is instruction 2. So there is a data dependency. Now what will happen? Let's say we started clock 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now the first instruction. So this is instruction 1. So that is multiplication. Now this will fetch it. There is no problem. Instruction 2, fetching is also not a problem. So it will fetch it. So here it is not dependent, so it will decode it. While is decoding happening, next stage will be execution. This will be decode. Okay. Now once it will decode it, so it will understand. So this is add instruction and its operands are decode instruction. As I said, it will decode it and then it will bring the source operand. So then it realized that source operand is nothing but R4. And R4, it happens that R4 is the destination of the other operand. So therefore there will be a data dependency, and once data dependency is found, then the second instruction cannot proceed because data is not available. Otherwise result will be consistent. So then D2 will wait until or unless E1, that is the first instruction, completes its execution. So first instruction will complete here. So that is W1. So this will be stalled. It cannot do anything. After completion only this result will be written back here to R4 and then it will bring those operands. So again decoding part will continue. So we can give name 2A. It will again start for decoding. Okay. Once the decoding complete, then it will go for the. So next is here I2, I3. This will do it here. So it cannot I3. There is no. So then once it complete it, then I4. This one will complete. Oh, there is no instruction, right? So then what will happen? So next execute and then write back. Ideally, what happened after the 5th cycle, second instruction should have been executed, but it is taking up to 7th. Okay, because of the dependencies. Okay, I'll end with one solution of the data hazard is something called operand forwarding. Because what was the issue? Issue was with the operand. Because when it is decoding here, it cannot proceed for execution because data is not available. So that was the issue in case of the data hazard, right? So once it completed here, it also complete the execution of the first part. That means execution completed, but destination, the result is not written back. Okay. And here decoding is done. That means it realized there is a data dependency, but it cannot take the value whatever is available with the source operand, because source operand is it is linked with the previous instruction. Okay. To give the solution, here we go. That is something called operand forwarding. Okay. So that is something called, we'll continue with this part, is something called operand forwarding. So let us first see the part here. This was fetching part. This was decoding. This was execution. This was write back. And obviously we have interstage buffer here. Now what was the problem? The instruction I1 was in execution phase, while execution I2 was in decoding phase. Now obviously in the next it will go in the writing stage, but it cannot proceed after that because there is a data dependency until unless it. But if you get that execution unit already completed the execution, that means already what will be the to the operand. So let me tell you, this is the multiplication R2 R3 to R4, and then addition we had, what is the R5 R4 R5 R4 to R6. So that was the two instructions. So while it executed, so result is already known, but result is not stored in the register R4. But decoding is done, okay, but it realized there is a data dependency. What can be done is, because result is available, so these results will go to the right unit and then only you will get the results from here. Instead of that, what we can do, we can forward whatever the result is available here, we can forward it here, okay, to the execution unit for the second instruction. Because second instruction decoding is done, decoding means it decoded, that is, it is an add instruction and it fetch R5, but it cannot fetch R4 because there is a data dependency, no need to fetch this one. So then it can proceed. Already this R5 is available here, and that R4 can be taken from the execution unit of the execution unit, and that needs to be forwarded to here. So therefore, there is no wait here. Execution completed, data is available, decoding is executed. So then next immediately it can go for the execution part. So there is no stall for this type of scenario. So that is the solution for the operand forwarding. So this operand is actually forwarding, okay, for the next instruction. This is called operand forwarding. So this will be elaborate with one more circuit, once on details in the circuit. So let's say we have source 1, because in the instruction here you can see we have two sources. You can assume there are two sources here. This is the bus, because you are bringing data from the secondary memory, sorry, you are bringing data from main memory to the processor. So we have two sources, and now we have few register. So SRC1, another register SRC2. Okay, so this is connected here, this is connected here, source 1 and source 2. Eventually this is part of buffer B2. buffer B2. Okay. Now from here we can put a mask two to one mask. Okay. And then we have ALU here. So this is connected here. This is connected here. And then this is a result. This is actually part of buffer 3. Now what happened? So these output will be connected is one of the mask here. We need data forwarding, right? So results should be available in the input of the ALU or execution end. So this is nothing but execution phase. Okay. If there is no data forwarding, so now we have a set of register. We can say the register file. Okay. Okay. So now here, this is the execution in unit is same as here ALU. So before ALU, we have this buffer B2. So here also we have this part. Okay, register. And what we did it, we put two mask here, 2 to 1 mask. Okay. So what is the task of the mask is either it choose from the source, as you see source 1 or source 2. Otherwise, it will take the output from the buffer here. Either it takes input from here or it take from input here, that is forwarding this line. Please note that this line is nothing but here this line or this line. Now what happened? That example. Okay. So example was multiplication and then we had addition. So while additions, let's say what we can do it, we can go back here. That is the diagram here, multiplication. So fetch is done for the first, decode is done, execution is done, and then decoding is done. So while executing the decoding, realize that there is a data dependency. So therefore, data forwarding option should be taken. Okay, should be executed. So in that scenario, what it will do? So data forwarding, that means, so in that I need to write it again once more. So that is R5, R4, and R6. And here R2, R3, R4, R2, R3, R4. Okay. So first instruction, there is no issue because it is not depend on other results. Okay. Now while executing first instruction, that is at the third clock cycle. Okay. Second instruction executing decoding part, as you can see, third instruction, first instruction is executing third clock cycle. That time second instruction is executing decoding stage. At this stage, it will realize this is the add instruction and there is a data dependency. So if there is a data dependency, what it will do? Dependency on the register R4. Okay. So that means data forwarding must be done. And therefore, R5 will be placed in this register only. Okay. And that R4 results will be taken from here because in I1, that is the first instruction execution is complete. So that should be taken from here, and masks should be enabled to take input from this line, not from this line. So therefore, here we are getting from here through this RC, we'll get R5 here. And because of the data forwarding, we'll get R4 here. Now in the second stage, immediately execution can happen without stalling the pipeline. So therefore, here if you see here execution is completed, then decoding is done. Decoding is done means actually non-data dependency register, that is in case of R5, is put in the one of the buffer register is already, it should enable this part here. So this is R5, and R4 should be taken for the data forwarding. And therefore, both of the inputs are available before the execution unit here. So this is R4 and this is R5. And so therefore, in the fourth time cycle, so while the instruction I1, so fourth time cycle, so this is F1, this is decode 1, this is execute 1, so this is 1, 2, 3, and fourth cycle. So while it is executing F1, so second is fetch, this is decoding done. Decoding done means that is R5 is fixed, R5 is already here, it is available here, and then R4 was earlier, it should be taken from the after completion of W1, but we are not waiting because of that data forwarding. This will be available before the execution unit. So both are available, so it can go for execution E2, and then next stage it will be write back. So therefore, no clock cycle, that pipeline is suspended or stopped. Okay, so this is the solution for the data forwarding. So you take the book, you see the book Hamager. Okay, so with that I stop today's class. So in the next class we'll talk about the instruction hazard or control hazard. Okay, and with that I'll conclude this syllabus. Okay, so stop for today's. Save first.
Save कीजिए sir.
Wait. What is that? Recording नहीं हुआ क्या?
नहीं, वहाँ ना रिकॉर्ड किया ना. एक स्टॉप रिकॉर्डिंग दीजिए.